for the recording. Just a reminder of what we're doing here. So this is just Rob and I. We've got a couple of topics that we thought. So I'm just getting people linked in. We wanted to get sort of the rowing community together just before Masters is held here in South Africa, and really to leverage various members of our community, whether they were like previously Olympian rowers or just people who've got experience, who've been part of the community, on everything from, we started off with training programs and just sort of understanding what people were doing around 1,000 meters versus 2,000 meters training. We looked at a little bit of technique. And then obviously today's session, the focus, and sorry, I'm just making sure we get this sorted out. The focus of today's session is actually just to learn about Masters Regattas. As much as we go, oh, World's Masters is going to be in South Africa, it's very different to what we're used to. So it's just about sort of understanding from Colleen, from your position, all around the administration side, but as importantly also, and we're hopefully, Zak and John are sort of going to come to the party, is all the pageantry and the fun side, the whole aspect. The races only last 4 minutes, and yet the regatta is the entire sort of long weekend. So that's the topic for tonight. The next two topics that we hope to get done in the next 3 weeks is going to be just a little bit about rigging. You'll see on the invite that was sent out, there's a little QR code there. It goes to a Google form. We're collecting settings, and it doesn't matter if it's an 8, a 4, a pair, sculls. What we're just trying to do there is get a range of the settings, and in that session we're going to share what people are doing, just so you can get a bit of a feel, but also it's a little bit of a training course on what do these settings mean, and as new masters, what should you be doing to make sure that your boat is set up right. And then the last little session workshop we're going to do is maintenance. As we get older, we're hoping to get some wise, knowledgeable people in to say, how do you keep our old bodies going when we start stepping up the training? So that's the intent. Just a little bit then about the format. We have 30-minute call. We ask some questions of our guests. And then we open it up to the group. This week, because of the topic, we're going to open up the questions to everyone listening early, because the intention is really to have a conversation and really mine you guys for all the knowledge and all those nuggets of what you know. And on that last bit there, obviously then just any thoughts, comments, please shout and add. The intention is just really to use this to help their own community prepare and get ready for World Masters in South Africa.
Awesome.
Cool.
You're a star, Ben. And so I was going to start off. Ben allowed me the first killer question for Colleen. We spent a lot of time in this because we know that you are the 2008 Coastal Rowing World Champion, which you always forget about, but we will always remind you about that. But aside from the fact that you've been in the Olympics, I think an interesting thing that most people don't know is that you're actually the rowing event manager at Rio in 2019 for the Olympics, and you're also World Rowing Sports Director. So, that's, I don't think you get better credentials than that, Ben. So that's very remarkable. But you must have learned a hell of a lot, Colleen, from Rio, from managing expectations, working with high-level individuals, and then also just being part of world rowing. So all those lessons that you've learned, like, what are the key things that you're bringing to world rowing Masters Regatta in September to South Africa, to our shores? Like, what are the key lessons that you think you've picked up that you're going to introduce here?
Hi, Rob. Thanks. I think probably what I bring from my world rowing background is that, I was event manager for a long time before I went to Rio. And there you're working with all of the organizing committees of the different events. And so I think I have a really good idea of what is required from an international event. I think a lot of my colleagues on our organizing committee know a lot more about actually organizing the event, but I kind of know what the end result has to be. So I think that's really what I bring from my world rowing years. From Rio, there I was on the organizing side, and obviously it was completely different just because you're a part of this massive machine, Olympic machine, an organizing committee. And so I was really, you know, I had to focus on making sure that the sport was the sport event and the competition could be delivered. So it was great. I could say to all the other departments, this is what we need. We have to have this for the sport. And they, you know, as far as they could, had to make it happen for us. So that was great. This is different. We're obviously on a much smaller scale. But I think if what I take and what I always remember being very conscious about in Rio was, and it sounds a little cliched, but it is really true, that when you're organizing events, teamwork, you just realize how critical a team is. And there is no way anyone can put on an event on their own. Like, it always amazes me how all the parts of the machine come together to just deliver this event. And there are definitely moments where you feel like you're actually not quite sure how it's all going to happen and on time. But it just goes, the wheels are turning and it runs, and you know that, you know, it's a great thing that you can't change the dates. The event will happen on those dates regardless. And so, you know, everything eventually just pulls together to make it happen. It's a bit like I do remember feeling before Rio, probably a month or so before, it's like when you're on at least when I was racing and you're warming up and you're just thinking, I just don't want to do this. I just don't want to be here. But you have to do it and you have to line up. And the only way through is you just have to race the race. You just have to go through it. So I think that's those are my memories, sort of dominant memories from Rio. And it kind of makes me feel like, you know, that is how our events work. There's a lot that's just going to happen. You know, you do a huge amount of preparation, but at the end of the day, the time just rolls on and it will happen in some way or another.
Colleen, then, so a question more specifically, obviously now to athletes coming to a Masters Regatta. And the you know, the picture I have in my mind is we pitch up to Rode Plot, we scratch, we add names, we find kit, we find another boat. Explain to obviously us and everyone listening, what is different? You know, when you now come to an event organized by World Rowing, what is different? What do people need to learn?
Look, the Masters Regatta is an amazing event in that it's Masters, it's not elite, so it's not as serious as a World Champs or, you know, World Cup or anything like that. But it is still an international regatta. It is still a world rowing event, so it's a little bit more serious than our regattas. But more in that there are, you know, we will have a 22 international jury members there. So they come in, we essentially deliver the venue to them. We have to make sure everything's ready, but World Rowing come in with their jury and they run the regatta. It's not us, it's not South Africans running the regatta, it's this international jury and World Rowing. So from that perspective, I think that's quite different. You know, we have our races here and the rules themselves are not that different, but there's no chatting on the start line to the umpire, and you know, it's like it really it runs like clockwork, and you do kind of need to respect that aspect of it. But I think people will feel it when they arrive, that it is just a bit different. I mean, on the service side, I'm hoping that you will feel a big difference in terms of the general, just the service level, the facilities at the regatta. We're putting a lot of work into that. You know, there'll be a bag drop. You can go and store your bag in the, you know, you can put it in a locker room. We'll have a lot of extra toilets around. We've got an athlete rest area. We've got a good warm-up zone with ergs and ski ergs and bikes. There's an info center, like a huge info center. And I think for a lot of the South African rowers who haven't been to a Masters before, you're going to have to go and register, and you get a photo. Yeah, we put you on the system, and you have to scan your passport and get a photo. So there are all these sort of things that I think, and I'm hoping everyone will just feel, yes, we're at Rode Plot, but it's an international event. It really is. The world is coming here, and you are racing. You are part of World Masters, not a local event.
That's brilliant. And then just tell me about the boats. So obviously people have booked their seats into races. Options, and what are the rules around boats you can use, can't use? What's the story there?
If you have your own boats, the clubs, I mean, local Gauteng-based clubs and other clubs from other provinces, if you bring your own boats up, there's really no difference. You'll organise amongst your clubs. The only thing we're asking is that you send through a request form, which is on our website, to book racks for the boats. Because it won't be a free-for-all in the boat park. We will allocate racks to all of the clubs. And so for that, we need to know how many boats you're bringing and how many racks you need, what kinds of boats, etc. Obviously, if you want to rent boats, or maybe you've got your own boats, but you want to race in a 1-year-old Felipe or something, you can rent the boats, and then you will work in the boat rental system, which then they will have their regulations. You know, it's 40 minutes or 1 hour that you have with the boat. You can't change the rig, you can change your blades, that kind of thing. So, but if you bring your own boats, it won't be too different.
Okay, and that is an important part, and I think to share with everyone. If you do rent a boat, as you said, the rig is set, so you're not going to change the span. You can change your footboard, you can change your height with the clips, and you can change your blades. But everything else you've got to keep, and you get a slot. And again, if you're going to do a warm-up or you want to practice the day before, you've got to book that with the company itself.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we ask Zak some questions?
Yeah, I've got lots for Zak. Yeah, because we've kept you waiting there, Zak, because we've got the big questions for you.
I've been enjoying it.
I had one, but it was basically just to get a bit of a start, because I know you've raced internationally, but I just wanted to find out, because and in fact you showed me some of the photos, I think, when you guys were in Bled overseas, and it was really quite interesting. So I just wanted to see from your perspective, how do you balance racing, being a serious racer, trying to get the best out of your race, with the socializing? Because it's not just, you row during the day and then it's a one night time, might be over a couple of days. So how do you manage that?
Yeah. There's no copy and paste answer here. Not everybody's there for the same reasons. Some people are there just for the joy of rowing. I've been to 2 Masters Worlds, in Bled in 2017 and in Budapest in 2019. And the thing I love most about them is they just feel like a celebration of rowing, and of all the different aspects of rowing. So it's not a case of everybody's there just to go and race and be the best and win. And, it's not like an international world champs, where everybody's there for one single purpose and they're after the big medal. A lot of masters are there just to have some fun and to meet other masters and have a chat, and so you get a broad range. The other thing is that because your races are totally randomly drawn, you could end up against anybody. I mean, you can line up at the start and there's an Olympic gold medalist in your race, and then you're going to get pumped, and that's just what's going to happen. Okay. Or you could line up at the start and have somebody who looks like me in your race, and then you might be probably going to win. So then, so it's really a range. And I think what's nice is people come into it with that attitude, and then just kind of find their own way through. So, certainly in Bled, in Bled, they didn't have a lot of events. They had, on the one night, they had a really lovely kind of cocktail party up at there's a beautiful castle that overlooks the course. And Sam and I, who were there for social reasons more than anything else, of course we went along. A lot of the serious guys didn't go along to that, but so it kind of fits in. And then on the Saturday night, so the night before the mixed racing, all the mixed events are on the last day, and so on the night before the mixed events, there was a real letting down of the hair, if you whatever you want to call it.
That's rich, yeah.
And that got pretty filthy. I mean, that was great fun, and it meant that because the mixed races were they were great fun, and some people were very serious about them, but you know, really by that stage we could all just have a bit of a jaw. So as I said, it's a mix. In Hungary, to juxtapose that, Hungary didn't have any organized events until the last. Did they even on the last night? I don't remember. If I don't remember, it means they probably did. But they had beer tents all along the course. There were like 3 beer tents, and people just went and sat there all day. And you know, you sat and you did your race, and then after your race, went and found a beer tent and sat and had a couple of beers and watched some other rowing come down. It was just good humor, and that's what's lacquer about it. You're going to meet people from all over the world and have a beer with them and a chat, and don't take anything too seriously.
Colleen, on that, are you allowed to share anything that's being planned for our Masters Worlds Regatta? You know, so I mean, I'm assuming there will be a beer tent.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, so I guess I've spoken a lot about the competition and the sport and those services, but actually, I mean, we have structured our whole event around making it, as Zak said, like it's a celebration. It's very social. We want people to mingle and chat and spend as much time at Regatta as possible. So the bar is pretty much, I mean, the venue is divided into 2 areas. The competition area, which is pretty much from the road, well, no, from sort of the end of the national squad, you know, that paving in front of their shed, to the right as you look at the water. That is the sport area, the competition area. And then everything to the left up to the finish tower, that is the spectator entertainment zone. So, and the bar is really the focal point there. But we're going to have a big screen. We've got a stage. And the idea is that every evening after racing, we have live music. So Sam has done an amazing job at sourcing live acts, a couple of live acts for every night that we're there. I think starting, I'm not sure if it's Wednesday or Tuesday, but pretty much we want people to come and just hang out. The venue will close at around 10. We're going to be running shuttles to the official hotel. So yeah, we want come and hang out, stay. There'll be food trucks. There's a dining tent or hall attached to the glamping village on the other side of the boat sheds. So it's really, yeah. We're also having the single sculls races, the finals, which is new for Masters Regatta. I think they do it at Euromasters, but essentially, if you, in your age group, if you're racing the single and you place in the top 8 on times, you make the final, which you would then race. I mean, you elect to race, you don't have to if you don't want to, but we would then race single sculls finals at the end of each day. So part of our evening program would be the medal ceremonies for the single sculls finals. And so there we've just finalized the designs for the medals, and they're beautiful. So we're very excited about that. We'll be giving out gold, silver, bronze medals for those singles finals. Because for those who aren't aware, at the Masters Regatta, you basically, if you win your race, you get a medal, because there are too many entries to race, like semi-finals, finals. So it's essentially, you know, but there as well, you come in straight after your race to the medal jetty and you get your medal, and then you go back and hand in the boat, pretty much. So the singles finals, we're hoping are going to be quite special, and we'll also just be a part of that whole sundowners evening entertainment vibe that we're going to get going.
Colleen, how many people more or less, and I know it might be too early, how many people are you expecting in the tented village, in the glamping area? Are you expecting about 1,000 people there?
We initially thought we could accommodate up to 1,000, but we're nowhere near that at the moment. So I think if we're up to, which is a good thing because it would have been pretty crowded in there. I think if we get up to around 200, 250, that'll probably be around that number. Yeah.
What, in the entertainment area?
In the glamping area, and then a lot of the other people I think will either be staying at hotels or in the local areas, which most of them are booked out already.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. Give us a feel of the countries. I think we spoke at SA Champs, and you were talking. You know, one of the interesting parts is always the interest from the South Americans. What are the other interesting countries? You know, where we're seeing people coming from?
Oh, I should have opened my list. So at the early bird deadline, we had 30 countries already entered.
You got a degree.
Wits is a great university, Colleen. We're behind you 100%.
Thanks. Yeah, we had 30 countries. Who were some of the interesting ones? I mean, you get your usual, but we had a massive contingent from Brazil already at the early bird deadline. I think they may even have had more entries than VLC at that point. But Brazil, a few other, I think we've got some from Paraguay, probably thanks to Sam's efforts when she went across to promote the event. I think Croatia, we've got some, I mean, quite a few European countries, Italy, Lithuania are coming. Sure, I can have a look for the list and let you know.
I think with the Chileans as well. I think you said there was a contingency from Chile.
Yeah, could well be.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
But no, it's a good spread. We're hoping for, normally at a Masters Regatta you get around 50 countries. So hopefully by the deadline on 2nd of August we'll be up there.
Okay, brilliant. And then going back to Zak again, so this combination, back to what the question that Robbie asked. If you're planning for this Masters Worlds, how many races you're looking to do? Because again, so everyone is aware, you've got one race. Is there any seeding? Is it completely random? So you just get drawn, or is it just purely seeded roughly within age bands like we typically have done at these Masters Regattas? And then basically it's one race. It's winner takes all, but obviously we've got this interesting thing now that's going to happen here with the finals and the sculls.
No. So the structure is, and Cole, jump in if I get anything wrong here, but structurally, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't a seeding within the things. If there is, I was never ranked enough to be seeded. But each
when you were racing up against Zeno Muller, you didn't think there was a problem?
Well, he's older than me, so he was in a different age category.
Still going fast.
Still going fast. Yeah. So your age bands are your age bands, and you can't race against people older than you. So remember, just for everybody who's on the call, in case anyone doesn't know, the way it works is that you take the average age of the crew, and the age is what age you turn that year. So, I turned 45 this year. By the time Masters comes around, I'll still be 44, but I count as 45 because that's, so that's how it works. And then it's your average age. And then you go into Masters A, B, C, D, etc. You're allowed to, let's say it's in the single, I can race Masters C, and I can race Masters B and A singles because you can race younger. I just can't go race Masters D. And that's the same for everything, So if you've got a good crew and let's say you're a Masters C double and you think that you're pretty quick, you maybe want to race Masters B for some different competition or even A.
So you could end two. Up, you don't get so if you're going for C, you could do C and B.
Exactly. Okay. So I've entered, as an example, in the single, I've entered C and B, just to get more races. And to be honest, like, you can race as many races as you can race. Fill your boots. I would encourage people to try and race as many as you can race. Over 5 days, you don't want to be sitting around for 3 races over the course of 5 days. You're going to be bored out of your, not bored. I mean, it's going to be a jaw, but try get racing in. And obviously there's a lot of cost implications and things. So you got to weigh that up. But if you can, go for it and race what events you can. We should be trying to put together a good few 8s. There's nothing more fun than watching Masters 8s tonk down the course, and I think as well, because it's not kind of at that Olympic level, a lot of the racing tends to be quite close, and it's quite, people aren't trying to, it's a weird thing to describe. It's just really fun racing, even at its hardest, even at its toughest. The guys that are going for their best performances, there's still a lot of fun, in a way that doesn't always exist at overly competitive things. Look, it is still very competitive. So so the guys that are out there rowing their 98-99% prognostics now, they're going to be very competitive, and they're going to have hard races, and that's great. But, for those of us who are rowing our 85 to 90s, well, we're going to have fun too, just further back in the race.
Colleen, any big names besides Colleen Orsmond, Ramon de Clemente, Ivan Pence, Sizwe Lovo?
I'm not sure about that, Ben. I have. Can I come back just to the entries? Just on, I mean.
So just,
Right,
Colleen, if you
but
don't
just
mind
to
just
clarify.
repeating, you've broken up just for a second there.
I just wanted to clarify on the entries, I mean, on the age groups and the seeding, because it is quite an important point for people to be aware of. They don't seed, they can't seed, obviously there's nothing to seed on, but they do try and group, even within an age category, they will try and group you with people of the same age. That's their only basis to go on. And so this is important because if you want to make crew changes, so basically you can change your crews up until the 2nd of August, no problem on the system. And so that means you can change your age category, just make sure that you check which day, you know, because obviously the day of the race and check how it fits in with other races, but you can still be in your same age category and no problem. But then as soon as that entry deadline is passed, you can only make changes to your crew if the change in the average age is within 1 year, because otherwise they would have to move you into a different heat, you know. So that is important for people to be aware of. It's going to be a lot more difficult to make if you need to find a sub after the entry deadline, you need to find someone the same age as the person they're substituting, basically.
And so that cutoff line for everybody to get in their last entry, because I know a lot of internationals were looking for spaces and boats and they were trying to connect. Does it close on the 2nd of August effectively? Yeah. And then after that, you're going to stick in your age category.
Yeah. So you can still make crew changes after that, but you're not going to be able to make more entries, a late entry or anything like that. The only place the only boats you can enter late are the mixed crews for the Sunday, and that you can enter up until Friday night of the event at 6 p.m. So you've got a lot of time to chat and make crews during the week that you're there. But yeah, any of the racing up till Saturday, 2nd of August, that is your deadline.
Funny question, mixed crews, can you mix with other countries?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Because that could be fun to make some sort of mixed stage with different countries.
No, definitely. I think.
Colleen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for everything you can mix with other countries.
Yeah, you can make composite crews. I think it's listed as international in the entry, and yeah, you can really row with whoever you want. I think the rules are, and Zak, you just have to be wearing the same thing when you race. So if you
the same thing. So as long as it's the same thing, it doesn't matter what it is. It's
not like the official registered uniform of the club or anything like that. You just have to be uniform. Yeah.
Okay. Uniform. He had an interesting question, and you're going to love this. Is there drug testing?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there?
Okay. No, we were just going to say, because I was thinking about this the other day. Masters, so we said that. No, Masters Sports, believe it or not, has got the highest occurrence of doping, because you get to 40 or 50 and you're going, a little shot of testosterone would help. So it's massive, apparently.
No, but it is drug control.
So Ronaldo, just be careful there.
With a difference, and simply because, so it's not as you know, at an elite level, you having to fill in, everything has to be premeditated, and you're registering on the system, and you've got to apply for therapeutic use exemption in advance, all of that. Masters, it can be done retrospectively. So basically, because I mean, and you know, every Masters rower is going to be on something. So as long as you have a medical,
this whole conversation just went downhill.
Because
arthritis, heart problems.
But it's actually quite interesting, because a lot of people are on medication for a heart medication, because if you've got something that needs, you know, you've got defibrillation or you've got issues with your heart, some people are on medicine. Other people need to contain certain things, and that would be pinged on the system. But it's quite interesting, because there are still
I've got our title for our 7th show. You know?
I know.
Drugs you can and cannot take as an old person.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good fun.
Yeah, but it's to train harder.
On that, please just read. Like, I'll put the link to our bulletin in the chat. Because the actual rules, it's best to read as it says in the World Rowing Rules. So we did put something in the bulletin, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Just to be sure, just to be clear on how it works. I'll check that and I'll put something in the chat.
Cool. I'm going to stop us just quickly there. Just think of your best sort of war stories, and it doesn't even have to be from a Masters Regatta. And then everybody obviously listening in, feel free to switch on your mics and get ready to ask questions. If you know how Teams works, put your hand up like being back at school, and it just makes it a little bit easier to manage. And think up your questions, think up your stories. We're just going to quickly, what we do now is we just quickly do some adverts. Quick heads up, there's 2 good rows coming up. So on Sunday, this coming Sunday, winter solstice, which I think was yesterday or today, it's the long row on the Vaal. If you're up for it, it is something special. If you've never done it before, it is cold, but there is nothing better than being on the Vaal in winter. I think it's about 29 kilometers. You go from the top up at sort of just beyond 3 Rivers. So where the old General Smuts, just past General Smuts, Iligwa and further up. And you go all the way down to the barrage where sort of some Benedict's camp. That is a special row. If you've never done it before, go give it a go. And then just beyond that, and
sorry,
yes, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just have to add something on the long row, just so that everybody's aware. Alan sent a message today saying there won't be a sweep boat at this year's long row. So normally there's a motorboat that kind of comes at the back just to pick up anybody who's had any problems. That won't be there this year. So if you are, if you're a novice or not experienced or whatever, try to do it in a bigger crew rather than a single or something where you may get into bother.
Cool.
Thanks.
Good message, but definitely a good one to do. And then the other one is an interesting one, and I don't know if Zak can remember running this one together, but Head of the Bay in Durban. It's usually warm. One year it wasn't, but again, for something unique to South African rowing, you row in the bay. Every now and again, you'll have a massive ship go past. So again, probably worthwhile going in the bigger boats. But it's good to go down there, good to support Durban Rowing Club and all those, everyone around that side. Again, it's a great club row to go do. And then 2 quick fundraisers. So the first one is St. Mary's. St. Mary's have got Greatest Days, and it's a premier sort of screening. If your kids need something to do, they just need to get hold of Tanya at Merit Travel. And again, this will be on the recording. And then the next 2 is Holy Rosary are doing something on Saturday, the 8th of July. It's going to be South Africa versus Australia, big screens, and just a nice opportunity. A lot of the rowing community will be there. And then a little special one out there as well. And we know there's a lot of backer buddies out there for different sort of age groups and etc. But this one is for the under 23s. This is Courtney Wesley. She's, I think, she's either our only or one of the few under 23s is qualified for world champs. And why I've got a soft heart for this is by the time you get into under 23s, your parents are not that happy to fork out money. So again, if we can just get around, anyone can throw a little bit of money there, especially if you listen to this overseas, just help her get across to under 23s, because I think she's going to go far. That's it for advertising. Again, if anybody's listening and you've got fundraisers or anything you want to get out there, in fact, it's just reminding me. The other thing is, if you haven't seen it, East London Boating Association or the Rowing Club, they have got a special plea out there. They're having some challenges down there with security, and probably the most important part of that message that's come out is that the Buffalo is such a phenomenal regatta. It's something that all the schools, all the clubs look forward to on the calendar, and it really is at threat of it, being stopped if we can't sort of help that club with its security and situation. And I don't think it's just about money; it's about being smart and creative about what we do to help them out. Cool. Yeah. Colleen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. While we're doing plugs, can I put in a bit of a plug for our event, actually, for the Masters Regatta? Some of you may have seen today, Gaynor went out on the Masters rowing, that we are needing help for infrastructure to help final preparations at the venue at Rudderplaat. So things like helping with tensioning lanes, putting on buoys on the course. Selwyn and Philip have done an amazing job, but we're getting to the point where all hands on deck will help. And we're also looking for plants, donations of your plants from your garden just to fill up some of those sandy spots. So yeah, if people can, if they're available on weekends or even during the week to go out and help, please contact Gaynor for that. And then we're also looking for, if anyone's wanting to advertise in the souvenir program or on the live stream, the video live stream, which will go out, online, so it'll be international. If you're wanting to advertise there, please also give us a shout.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
And we'll keep plugging that. We'll put it up on the next two sort of calls. I think it's very important. It's interesting to see at sort of all the World Cups, all the World Champs, they go out to get volunteers and they need 300-400 people at these events. And what's really good to see is they tend to be oversubscribed. And I think it's just a nice way of getting involved and being part of the sort of the whole event. Okay, on that, I'm going to open it up to everyone who's sort of listening in. Are there any questions from anyone? And please just feel free either to switch on your microphone or put up your hand. You can't all be silent. It feels like I'm in a business meeting.
I've got a question. I think it was more for Zak. So Zak, I know that I always see in the sculling races, and you my benchmark of where it's good to be. But what other races are you doing? Are you also racing in some of the fours, quads, or octs? Or what's the plan?
Sure. We've entered a few fours for Eds, but we haven't kind of picked them yet. But I'm hoping to grab a seat in one of those. A pair, if I can find a pair part, it's all still pretty flexible. And then Ben and I, funny enough, have spoken about racing a double. So as long as I can hold him to that, then we're going to, because I don't know if you know this, Rob, but we used to race it.
Yeah. I've heard it once or twice, but it's always good to hear it again.
Yeah. And it really surprised his kids. I don't know if you remember that, Ben, when you brought Dan through to Rudderplat. They saw me pulling out the lace. They were like, that guy.
Colleen, are you in the Scull for Masters?
No, I'm just rowing a pair. I'm going to do what Zak was saying. We're rowing 2 categories in the pair. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Done. Any questions from anyone in the audience before I let Zak sort of just embellish you? Any war stories from your 2 masters? While you think of that, Brandon, go for it.
So this question is more in regards to, I was hoping that Colleen would help answer this question. In regards to the races in how it's structured, I know it gets a bit chaotic at the jetties, and it also a little bit getting chaotic at the starts, getting everyone lined up for the races and that type of thing. But in regards to late entries and last minute get to the starts, are they quite strict in regards to that? Because I do know that sometimes because of that, a lot of races get, a lot of the regattas get postponed or not really postponed, sorry, delayed, and they get to run into overtime. So are they quite strict in regards to if you're late for your race, you will give you 5 minutes grace type of thing, or is it if you're not there, you will be
shaking.
Yeah, no, Brandon, it is really strict. I said earlier, like we have international jury coming, and okay, our event, we're not going to have an entry like the number of races that you would have in Europe when everyone goes to it, but it's still, we're hoping for a pretty full program. So races are going to be going off every 3 or 4 minutes probably, and they don't wait. If you're not there, you miss. So, and it's actually, I mean, Zak can say more, but it is actually, despite the number of boats on the water, the circulation and the traffic rules are quite strictly enforced. And there is a good system for lining people up. You rack and stack, basically. There's a pre-start tower 100 meters away from the actual start tower. And in that area, there are officials and umpires who are lining everyone up. And so it actually works really well. Yeah, but they won't wait for you. You need to get on there and be in that warm-up loop and be paying attention to the umpire so that you know. And you've also got to, you'll see that your bow number has an A to Z plus the lane number on it. And that's what you use. So like if you're in race Z, you've got to look for boats with bow numbers X and Y, and make sure that you're following and you're tracking them, because the Ys, you know, those are going to be the 2 races before your race. And so you can easily see, all right, now if there are no more Ys left in that warm-up loop, you've got to get down to that pre-start zone. So yeah, it does work well, but it is strict. There's no.
Yeah, it's good to know.
I mean, I will tell you just from Brandon, just to I mean, from, you know, to miss your race, you've almost got to be trying hard. You know, it's so organized and so slick up at the start there. You know, Colleen's, can I share a photo quickly?
I was going to say, yeah, we must have photos of what that loop looks like. I'm going to stop sharing. You go for it. Okay,
cool. I've got a bunch of pics that I can whip through quickly, but and our jetties may not look the same as this. I don't know what the structure is, but just to give you the idea, this was in Hungary, and basically you rode around at the back here, and then you lined up. And while race C was on, the starting tower was somewhere back here, and just behind that was, as Cole says, the second starting tower. And they were shouting. They were like, "If you've got a D on your bow, you better get here now." And then you get in, you get into your lanes behind this, and the moment this race goes off, you get on your space. And 3 minutes is actually quite long. I mean, you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, in Bled, where they had, I think, 6,000 athletes or 6,000 entries, it was mad. For 5 days, they went off 11 hours a day, just 3-minute races, doof, doof, doof,
Yeah.
doof, and didn't run a second late. So it's completely doable.
Yeah. And if I could add, we are going to give you an opportunity to test it out. So we were supposed to have our test events in July, but then realized we're going to place this massive start structure installation in the middle of Roodeplaat when all of our national teams are trying to train for their World Championships. So we've moved that out to 12th of August. So I really encourage you, come along. You'll get a chance to race. You'll get a chance to experience this whole start pattern and system. And it's also a good opportunity for us to test our infrastructure. So yeah, please do come and join in with that on that.
Remind me to get that date from you and we can put it on. Yeah, Brandon, do you want to ask another question?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. So touching again on what Colleen just stated in regards to, you got the first start and the second start. So also as well in regards to that, it sounds something similar to what happened in, as I used to do high school rowing, and I had the opportunity to go down to Port Alfred for the boat race. And because there were so many boats on the water and it was quite chaotic up at the start, it sounds very similar to a rolling start where they call you out, okay, and you slowly row up to the start, and then once you get to the start, you just gun it straight down from start to finish. It sounds roughly similar to it.
I think, Brandon, I was going exactly where you were going, and I was just going to say to Rob, so we were very fortunate, and in the spirit of Masters rowing, we're talking World Masters here, but there are other wonderful events. We did Head of the Charles last year, and again, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but say there are 170 50-year-old scullers. That's just male 50-year-old scullers. There's 170 of them. And you think, how are they going to coordinate these? Because I think we went off in 2 minutes slots. But exactly as you said, Brandon, they line you up, as Colleen said. There's sort of a warm-up loop that you do. You look out for your numbers. There's a bunch of people staged there. They say, no, you're on X, you're on Y, step up, step up, step up. And you're going to go almost like the swimmers. You're going to be lined up and you're just going to roll forward. The only difference to what you said, obviously at boat race, yep, they do it a running start, versus this is going to be all row up together. So all Bs row up together, stop, a line, drop the flag, go.
Guys, so, you don't have to row up together. There isn't like an aligning process. There's somebody sitting on one of these jetties and you row up and you give them your stern, and then they hold you, and that's it. And then they will manage the aligning and all of that stuff, and you just hang out in your boat and make sure that you're aiming straight. There, in fact, Colleen's got it there.
Zak, I'm stealing your screen, sorry, but
No,
but
do it.
These are our, actually, this was someone, they were building and testing them a few weeks ago. So this is what our little start pontoon is going to look like. And you can see the guy that your boat holder is going to be lying on it like that, holding the bow will come in here. And there will be 8 of these. We race 8 lanes. It's very different that there's the space between each of these stake boats that you've got to come through, and that's also just because of time. There isn't time to row all the way around it.
Yeah, and you got to put your stern in, hey Cole, not the bow. If you put the bow in, you're going to have a hell of a row.
That's going to be tough.
So people have got a picture in their mind. You're going to be again as if you were doing a normal race. You've gone round to almost the 1.5. You've done your warm-up lap there, and you're coming up in your orders. And then you're going to row past this pontoon on one side, go past, reverse back in. They're going to hold you up. That then just, that answers how you started your question, Brandon, is obviously timing. So 1, be on time, but then 2, obviously it's a lot easier to align someone when you've got someone holding the boat. It's just pull up, pull down, get ready, go type of thing. There you go.
So here's your circulation. So you're going to go all the way up to the 2,000. Actually, you've got almost 1,000 meters for your warm-up loop. Okay. This is this M5 here, although here P is the pre-start, S is the start tower. Yeah, so you'll do your warm-up loop, and then you come down. So you will stay here in the top lanes, and then they just feed you through. Like if you're in one of these lane 1, 2, 3 here, you just squeeze in between the pre-start and the start, and you come in into your lane.
It could be quite tight, different to squeeze through between those 2 things, eh?
I don't think this is right. Does the scale?
not to scale. Come on.
No, but
it's the easiest thing you've ever done.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any more questions from anybody else? And thanks for those questions, Brandon. Anybody else? Anything? Cool.
I've got my killer question.
Cool. Go for it.
Which I asked. It is controversial because I always ask the controversial questions. And Zak, this is for you. If I had to give you 3 months, you don't have to work anymore. You can just train, and we're going to get you to do on a nice flat water surface 1,000 meters on the scull. How fast could you go? So 3 months off. Good food, good nutrition, back massage, so you're ready. You don't have to worry about anything.
Hand over your child to someone else.
Yeah, I'll look after your kid. Things would be good, and you can train. And how fast do you think you could go if you could do that? 3 months.
I think with 3 months totally focused training, anyone could go pretty fast.
Stop being politically correct.
Just go for it. Come on. So just to give you an idea, Graham did a calculation based on his recent starts, and he thought about it, and he came up with 3:12.
No, not that fast. Couldn't be that fast.
3:20.
Could be something like that.
Can I tell you what happened there, though?
It was insane.
Graham used to coach me. Yeah. And I know how quick Graham is out the start, because I'm also quick out the start. I'm lightning off a start. And I'm going to say that very frankly. I will hold my own against anybody over 150 meters. But the remaining 850 are a hell of a lot, as you've seen many times. And that's so so you can't just take it off a start. Anybody.
I'm gonna give you 3:45. That's what I'm going for.
Look, I think if you want times that you're aiming for, then in a Masters C scull you're aiming for a 3:30. That's your 100%.
Sure. Seriously, wow.
3:30 is a gold medal time in a single, and that's quick. That means you've got to be sitting at 1:45 the whole way down.
Wow.
And Colleen, don't sit there calmly. What is the prognostic for the women's pair? You guys have worked it out already.
Yeah.
I've got it here if you want it. Give me 2 seconds. I'll pull it up.
I think it's just under 4 minutes, maybe. I'm not actually sure. But I would, if you gave me 3 months and of dedicated training, I would hope that we would go sneak in under 4 minutes.
No,
given your
come on,
Olympic,
Colleen, much faster.
Yeah, I think that prognostic must be about a 3:48 or something, I guess, for women's pair.
No, it's much
No.
quicker.
D or
It's,
C?
For
yeah,
D,
women's,
we category D, hey?
yeah, category D, you're right. Is it 3:55?
Okay.
3:55. And a woman's A is 3:46.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Faster.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more power?
Zak, where do you get the prognostics from? Is there a website? Or is
No,
it?
but if you ask me very nicely, I'll share a spreadsheet with you.
Oh, you're a good man. I'm just very curious as to where everybody gets it from.
Yeah, there's a Masters Commission, and they calculate the prognostics based on speed. And I just built a spreadsheet to calculate your times and see where, so that we could all track how we've done over the season, see who's done better, who's done worse, etc.
So because the show is called Full Nerd, has it been technically adjusted for rudderplaat and altitude? The sludge and altitude?
It's a very valid question. I didn't want to apply that adjustment without the Masters Commission. I didn't want to double apply it, so I don't know if they've applied it yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming they have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Anyway,
Excellent. Last just plug again, and this is just because it'd be good data. We will send out the flyer again. There's a little QR code at the bottom, and it's just a link to a Google form. And we're just trying to get as much data as we can on rigs, even if it's approximate, because it just means that when we have the next discussion, if people are trying to learn how to set up a boat, what the rig should be, but also there's been some experimenting. So the VLC crew that Ramon and Rod and crew are in, they've done something slightly different. And it'll just be good. I mean, it'd be amazing to see across the skulls what people are rigging up at, just to see the interest, the spectrum. So please, if you've got a chance, just find out what your boats are rigged up in. It's fairly simple. I think it's 6 or 7 questions. Very easy to fill in.
I think a lot of it can be done over the weekends. If anybody's rowing like this weekend, just get all your measuring tape, which should be there at the boat shed, and just go measure everything. Because I think it's quite interesting, because even if you haven't set it up correctly, which a lot of the people I row with have never really done this, I think to do the exercise and then to be able to compare it against the average will give them a good feel as to, okay, that's where that's what other people are doing, that's what the average is doing, and it could help.
And especially for the club boats, I think, the beauty of the Masters being in South Africa is how the numbers have swelled at all the clubs, which is great. But already the tensions are, people trying to lend boats and then people just changing things.
Yeah.
And obviously people are trying to learn how to row, getting in a boat and going, oh, who's messed with the settings? So that should be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you, Colleen. All the best of luck. We'll try to sort of rustle up some more volunteers. And then we'll put some more plugs on the next 2. And same thing, Zak, thanks very much for your time. Thanks for all sort of the knowledge and wisdom, and everybody who's listening.
That's great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
cool guys.
Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, Ronald.
Thank you.
Excellent. Let it go. Stop recording. Now, what's interesting is the stopping recording is up.